as the time passes and you think, okay, well, he mixed in a couple F-bombs, I guess, with it. He was a little bit more motivational than just, oh, here's a flower and here's the roots and, oh, we're going to water and we're going to fertilize. Yeah, and we're going to pop. I think there was
a lot of sexual innuendo in that, by the way, which people didn't pick up on. But go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. But, I just think that there was a little bit more to it than that, a little bit more motivational than just that. And so, when a couple hours pass, you start to think, okay, well, I'm sure there was more to it than that. And then we talked to the players, and they also said that, listen, he has a unique way of telling stories, and
that's why he wasn't ready to come on. He hadn't had his coffee yet. Kracz needed his coffee. That's why he's hopping on with us now.
Wiping the eyes. See, that was my guess.
Yeah.
Jody had a much more intriguing guess. I'm like, Ed probably just, because the same thing happens to me. I did it to poor Ricky Ricardo. I was telling Jody. I was going to get back to my hotel room in Vegas and text Ricky and say, oh, come on. I just totally forgot. I just totally spaced it off. We get a lot of requests this time of year, so I'm assuming Ed just spaced it off.
Well, I wish I had some better excuse, guys. Like I hit the Powerball or something really good and juicy.
Well, Jody had a good one. You were getting lucky. That's what he had.
I thought this was just a carryover from your weekend foray in Vegas, that the missus was still amorous.
It was almost a week we were out there, Jody. It felt like a month. We went out early and came back late, but man, I feel like I've been gone for a month. I'm still catching up. Let's put it that way.
We're glad you caught up with us for at least a couple of minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
McMullen tells me you're picking the Lions.
I just can't, get sucked back into this Eagles trap. I mean, I picked them last week against the Raiders and, paid the penalty there. It was a blowout. And I just think the Lions are playing really good football, better than what the Eagles are playing.
0-7, Ed. How can they be playing really good football and be 0-7?
The best 0-7 team in the NFL.
The only 0-7 team in the NFL. They're the worst friggin' team in the NFL.
Yeah, listen, I know. And you look at the rosters, and clearly the Eagles have a better roster, but the Lions are going to get off the schneid one of these days. They're not going to go 0-16. I don't think. I don't think. And this is a real good opportunity for the Lions. And that's the way I think they're looking at this is, hey, we can finally win this game.
It's their Super Bowl. They think they can win this game.
Yeah, I just think this is a big game for the Lions, as it is for the Eagles, obviously. But, boy, the way Philadelphia's playing, it's just hard to really put my chips in, on their side of this. I really think the Lions are going to give them a game. They've lost a couple games by field goals. I think this is the game where the Lions are going to win by a field goal.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
Just go back to bed. If you can't believe the Eagles are going to win this game, go back to friggin'
I have the Eagles winning the game by Jake Elliott 54-yard field goal or something of that nature.
Wow.
So I think it's going to be that close in the game. So I can see it. Obviously, if you're that close, any the football going one way or the other can shift the game. But I do want, because of what's gone on this weekend and flower power and how much hype that's gotten. Again, being away, I think helps the Eagles. I said that last week in Las Vegas because of how much criticism they're under locally.
Yeah.
But what is your take on just how this week has gone and how everyone has reacted to that press conference and that analogy? Is it overblown, or is it a bigger deal than I make it out to be?
No, listen, I agree. Being on the road probably helps the Eagles. I thought it would help in Vegas last week. It didn't. They've won both their games on the road in Carolina and in Atlanta. So, yeah, I think there is something to that. As far as what this week with the whole flower analogy, listen, at the time that it came out, I was rolling my eyes, and I
think everybody was.
Everybody was, and you wonder, geez, how can the players listen to this kind of message and not roll their eyes also? But as the time passes and you think, okay, well, he mixed in a couple F-bombs, I guess, with it. He was a little bit more motivational than just, oh, here's a flower and here's the roots and, oh, we're going to water and we're going to fertilize. Yeah, and we're going to pop. I think there was a
lot of sexual innuendo in that, by the way, which people didn't pick up on. But go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. But, I just think that there was a little bit more to it than that, a little bit more motivational than just that. And so, when a couple hours pass, you start to think, okay, well, I'm sure there was more to it than that. And then we talked to the players, and they also said that, listen, he has a unique way of telling stories, and they're still buying in. And listen, this probably would have been a cute little story had the Eagles been 5-2 and not 2-5. Yeah. Just like when he showed his videos of Kobe Bryant and all that stuff at the start of training, during training camp, when we all made a big deal of that. We thought, hey, that's pretty cool, good emotional or good motivational type stuff. So had this been a team that's 5-2 and he's talking about flowers, then maybe it's like, this Sirianni guy, he's pretty cool, but they're 2-5, and it's not a good look that he's showing professional football players, grown men, images of flowers.
Eddie K, is this the week we say Boston Scott to the rescue? He got his fair share of carries last week when Miles Sanders went out. We know Sanders is out for Sunday again. People are talking about someone being promoted from the practice squad at the running back position, Jordan Howard. Probably going to happen. But I got to believe that Boston Scott is going to be the main carrier of the football on Sunday. I know they want to throw the football more than run it. If they're going to run it, they're going to let Jalen Hurts run it. But I think that Boston Scott could actually be sitting on a big game. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I've always liked Boston Scott. I've always thought he had a role in this offense. I was kind of surprised when, the first 6 games go by and he really didn't have a role in this offense. That job as Miles Sanders' backup went to the rookie Kenny Gainwell. And Gainwell had a really big fumble there at the end of the first half in Vegas. The Eagles, maybe they score points. They're down 14-7 at the time. The Raiders take advantage of that and kick a field goal and go up 17-7 at halftime. That's a big mistake by the rookie. I think Gainwell is going to be the guy that's going to get a lot of the reps, but you're going to see some Boston Scott too. And if Gainwell makes another mistake early, I'd be surprised if we saw him and this doesn't go to Boston Scott and even Jordan Howard. But I've always liked Scott. I think he's a very quick, a very explosive player. I think he hits the holes hard when he gets the ball in the run game. And, of course, he can catch the ball and turn it upfield and make some plays that way too. So I'm excited about this being a possible Boston Scott game. But I think right now they're going to try to get Gainwell involved early, and then maybe they'll mix in Scott. And if something happens with Kenny Gainwell with a mistake, then I think Boston Scott's role will grow in the game.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys why this is not going to be a Boston Scott game. Well, 2 reasons, actually. One is it's not the New York Giants. Then we know that's when Boston shows up, again, when the Giants are on the schedule. But the second reason, the more important reason, is you go back to week 2 in San Francisco, they were down 2 starting corners, and we all know how Nick Sirianni went about that, and it didn't work. Now, this week, the Lions are already down 2 starting corners, so they're playing 2 rookie free agents, Jerry Jacobs and A.J. Parker in the slot. And, oh, by the way, A.J. Parker's probably not going to play, and Jerry Jacobs missed practice with an illness. So they're even further down on the depth chart. He's going to throw the football. And I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, they can't throw the football, but he's going to see that what Detroit is trotting out at cornerback and say, how do you not throw the football?
Well, that's good points. But listen, this Sirianni tried to run the ball in Vegas. He came up under center a few times to try to run the ball. I think he's going to try to run the football at least a little bit. I know the Lions are short-staffed at the corner position, but I just think he's going to try to run this ball, and I think he's going to try to control the game and assert some physicality on the Lions. I mean, to just go back to what was not working in previous weeks after, let's face it, it worked a little bit. The Eagles ran the ball pretty well against Vegas. They just fell behind by so big of a number. that they really couldn't keep doing that. So I think that they're going to try to run the ball. I really do. I think, Sirianni sees that that's what they kind of need to do to get this offense going now. How much he runs and versus the throw, I don't know, but I think they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more than they have in the past and not just rely on the throw. And even in the throwing game, even in the passing game, John, I think Boston Scott has a role. I like him on those wheel routes, and you're right, he plays well against the Giants, but I think he's just a good player overall and somebody that, they should use, whether he's running it or throwing him the ball, kind of like they use Gainwell on those short underneath crosses or, even a wheel route. Let's see a wheel route or two coming out of the backfield with him.
The Eagles will be up 14-3 at the half, knowing they're getting the ball at the second half because they'll win the toss, and of course they will defer. But despite that, they get up 14-3. And I don't think even Jeff Lurie can complain if you're up 14-3 at half and you start your second half, come out, run the football down the other team's throats. Milk the clock up 14-3.
Listen, I know people don't like to run the ball, but look at the Packers last night in that, against the Cardinals. I mean, they ran the heck out of the football. I know they didn't have any wide receivers and stuff.
They were down everybody at wide receiver.
Yeah, but boy, those two running backs they had ran hard, and the Eagles have running backs that will run hard. I just like, I know you're not going to win a game by running the ball, though the Packers kind of showed that you can. But I just think that there's a physicality. I think Brandon Staley said that when he was asked about the running game, the coach out in Los Angeles who brings his Chargers here next week, that you need that running game to bring the physicality to your offense. And, I agree with that 100%. And listen, the Eagles, by not running the ball, whether it's Jeffrey Lurie's edict or, just the way Nick Sirianni likes to play, they're making a mistake. I think they need to find ways to run the ball at least, 15 times a game, if not more. And that's more than just Jalen Hurts, running for his life, scrambling, on a pass play. I want to see these designed runs, and I want to see them assert their physical. This is a big offensive line that they need to take better advantage of.
Yeah, I wonder if you think about, obviously the Packers, as you mentioned, Ed, no Devontae Adams, no Scantling, no, they were Alan Lazard didn't play as well, so they were down to their fourth, fifth, and sixth receivers. And oh, by the way, Aaron Rodgers can still make some plays, but you're right, they went run heavy. My question is, do you think the shareholders went to Matt LaFleur and said you can't win the football game that way? Because that's what Doug Peterson and Nick Sirianni got to deal with. So that part of it is, you're right. You need to have some balance. I don't think there's any question about that. The balance has come from Jalen Hurts, though. It's a non-traditional running game. The Eagles have actually been pretty effective running the football. It just comes from the quarterback. So what makes that less important than just turning around and handing the football off, or is it just as important?
Well, I think, again, if you're pounding the ball up the middle or just going off tackle, I think it allows your offensive line to get a little bit more physical. If you're just letting Jalen Hurts, run from out of the pocket, you start out as a pass blocker, and then all of a sudden you have to become a run blocker. Let's just see these guys fire off the ball. Dickerson's a big guy. Obviously, Lane Johnson is, Jordan Mailata. Driscoll and Kelsey, not so much, but they can run block, and just let them come off the line, knowing that they're handing the ball off and not counting on Hurts to kind of sweep left or right, or which he does. That's how he picks up his yards, is out of the pocket. And I just want to see a traditional handoff and assert some physicality and mix things up and keep things balanced. I hate when a quarterback throws 45 times a game or 40 times a game. I like to see some balance. And watching the Packers run the ball, now their running backs were picking up, nice hard fought yards, Dillon and Jones. That was fun to watch. I like to see that punishing style. And people say, oh, well, the screen game is an extension of the run game. I mean, no, I guess it is in one respect, but in the other, it's not that physicality that you like to see your offensive line assert and dominate up front and get confidence. and wear on a defensive line, wear them down. So the pass rush isn't as effective in the fourth quarter or the third quarter even. So, I hope that Nick sees that after, first 7 weeks of the season as a rookie head coach. I hope he sees that and understands that, and Lurie lets him do that.
Even though